Fresh off of Royal Rumble Yeet End, you got Matt Kelley, you got Matt Riser, you got the WrestleMats. Matty, what a Royal Rumble weekend, my friend. I mean, I there are aspects to this thing I could not have drew up or planned or imagined any better myself. I am still riding this high off a Royal Rumble weekend, and it's flowing right into Monday Night Raw as we were talking about just before we got on the pod with each other. Man, how are you feeling about this overall weekend and where the WWE product is headed right now?
Wow, it's just me, Oos. Day one, just me, Oos, dude. It was crazy. I'm still trying to get over the Royal Rumble and just everything. My mind's blown, like you said, but we're on the road to WrestleMania with so many unanswered questions. But the best part is we got plenty of time, baby.
Oh man, I just want to. Oh, that just made me want to go into talking about Jey Uso so badly right now. But we are on a Royal Rumble recap, as you're seeing there. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna follow the match card as it flowed, as you actually watched it. So that means that we're actually gonna be kicking things off with the women's Royal Rumble side of things. And Maddie, let's get started with one of the bigger headlines out of Royal Rumble weekend. Jordynne Grace officially entering the Rumble as a WWE superstar.
Jordynne Grace looks like $1 million. From TNA to now, her outfit, her moveset, just her strength. I think this is great for WWE women's wrestling. We kind of need a new echelon of performers with the Becky Lynch's, Charlotte Flair's. Jordynne Grace, wow. She was on fire, and I think this is a warm welcome for the WWE product.
My wife was actually watching with me at that particular moment when Jordynne Grace came out, and her first words were "Holy shit!" As soon as she saw Jordynne Grace walk out. To your point, looks like $1 million. I mean, she is built. There are marble carvings that are not as chiseled right now as Jordynne Grace. And to your point, man, she's got a lot of moves in the move set, in the bank, and we saw her with an awesome display of power and agility, picking up Piper Niven for that Death Valley driver, one of the brighter spots in the entire Women's Rumble. The NXT talent that was included in this Rumble was Lash legend Roxanne Perez, who went for 1 hour and 7 minutes, setting a new women's record for longest time in the Rumble. Julia and Stephanie. So 4 NXT talents there coming into the Rumble. What did you pick up out of these NXT talents, Maddie?
A lot of potential. I think we've seen that with Roxanne Perez, the prodigy, for quite some time. I think it's only a matter of time before she gets called up to the main roster and does her thing. The others I wasn't as familiar with, so it was a nice, like, kind of fresh to see Lash Legend, who is huge. She's a Amazon of a woman, but she has moves. That high kick she was doing and just moving around the ring, very impressive. There's a lot to look forward to. Obviously, we know a lot about, is it Giulia or Gilia?
Julia.
How do you say Julia? Oh,
just old Julia.
Messed up.
Just old Julia.
So, dude, and she has that. You saw her and Io Sky right there. 2 powerhouses from New Japan. It's going to be exciting. The women's division we've talked about in previous episodes. It's just getting better and better.
Yeah, and I apologize. I actually left out Jada Parker in there as well. So 5 NXT talents on the women's side. Lash Legend, as somebody mentioned on commentary, a former WNBA star, so she's got crazy athleticism going on. I do concur with you about Roxanne Perez. She is main roster bound. I think it's just a matter of where at this point. Julia, Stephanie, all great talent as well. They have a great rivalry going on already in NXT. And so I don't think they're NXT. Julia just became champ a couple months ago or something like that. So
they're in a big signing, right? That was one of the bigger moves.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're going to be in NXT for a hot minute, but that's time for them to grow, get used to the WWE product, and they'll be main roster bound, I would imagine, probably sometime closer to 2026. Trish Stratus was the only WWE legend for either Rumble. So let's just stick right there for just a second, Maddie, because we're going to talk returns overall for the Women's Rumble. But Trish Stratus coming in, I think we can kind of expect Trish because Trish is a legend that if she would have made it to, let's say, the Final Four, even if something crazy happened and she would have happened to win, you can see her having a program with somebody Yeah, I don't think it's realistic. I don't think anybody would have expected
No.
her to win. But I'm just saying, had she won, you could say, hey, she can carry a program up until WrestleMania. But there were no other legends in either Rumble. Maddie, what'd you think about that overall?
First off, with Trish, she's 49 years old. And Saturday was Stratisfaction Saturday. I don't know if you forgot, Matt, but she was on fire. She looks great. She doesn't look 49. I hope most women look like that when they're 49. It was amazing. But Legends, I don't think it watered down the brand that much. Obviously, ready for the Rumble, you expect those surprise entrants. So a couple more would have been nice, but I felt like the flow we've seen with this Triple H era, it's been smooth. It's been action. I don't know if it's less matches on the card or just the presentation, but I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, I don't think that they need to rely on legends at this point, given how stacked both sides of the roster are. The only thing that I thought really is that there were a couple there was room for one thing to change, one or two things to change here on the women's side of the Rumble, and that was either Trish coming in a little bit earlier. I felt like there was a little bit of a lag, maybe with some of the audience just not being as familiar with some of the NXT stars, and there weren't necessarily your heavier hitters from that side of the roster, and so it felt like a little bit of a lag, honestly, almost until we got to another return that we're going to talk about in Alexa Bliss. But it felt like maybe the last 10 or so kind of picked up for the women's Rumble, and I would have maybe just shifted excuse me, not Becky Lynch, but Trish Stratus to a little bit earlier in the Rumble. And then if she was going to stay there, I think it was a great spot for Becky to actually come back and go directly after Trish after the rivalry that they just had a year or two ago.
So we would probably rather have returns from superstars that are either injured or yet to come back over the surprise of legends, you would say, right?
For the most part, at this point, I think there is something to the Rumble that people enjoy with the legends returning. So I think maybe I take out one NXT talent. And I know that's hard to say because you do want to invest in the future and you do want them to get their screen time. And you do want them to have that experience out there in front of 67,000 people. But I think there is something to be had in terms of just the expectations of what the Royal Rumble has become over all these years. So I would have thrown in maybe one more.
Makes sense.
Alexa Bliss, man, I need to apologize. I need to apologize to Alexa Bliss. I was not ready for that pop. I know on last week's episode we said, hey, Alexa Bliss is maybe a tier below the Charlottes, the Beckys, the Rhea Ripleys, and from an in-ring perspective, maybe you can still say that. But damn, Maddie, that pop was unbelievable that Alexa got. People were hype that she is back in the WWE.
When it was quite unexpected from what we had heard from the dirt sheets or the rumors they
Right.
say, is that she was in contract negotiations, but things were falling through. Saturday, they get it done. She comes out not only to a huge pop, but she's holding the doll. She's got the Wyatt, the Fiend vibes to it. So that was an interesting aspect to the character as well. Right there with her. I think she's upper mid card. I don't know if I necessarily need to see her in the main event, but I think fans are happy to have her where this women's division is. You need some, like I said, more faces than just your old school legends.
Yeah, she had the Friends Forever jacket and FIEND, spelling out Fiend, in different colors. So that was a cool touch to Bray Wyatt. To your point, the Lily doll has the 6 in the eye, kind of referencing the Wyatts as well. However, I think I read that she's actually going to the Raw brand right after the Wyatts were transferred to the SmackDown brand. So I'm kind of curious as to what that means for her character. Nikki Bella, the other return. Now, Nikki got a good pop. It was a nice little surprise for 30. I don't know that it was. I'm trying to figure out if that arena, and it's so hard to compare because Alexa Bliss's pop was massive. There was no
Right.
mistaking how people felt. With Nikki Bella and other parts of the Rumble, I think people were excited. I just don't think it came across on television the same. So I don't know if it sounded different in the stadium or if she just straight up did not get the same pop. But nonetheless, good to have Nikki Bella back. Do you think she's back for more than just that one off?
That's tough because she's still a throwback to the diva area, in my opinion. So it's what can she provide to the brand that's not backstage segments, things like that. We already have kind of that with Maxine Dupree. So I don't know necessarily what her space is on the product moving forward. If she's a full time, I mean, she does have the name value, but I just don't know bell to bell if she offers enough, in my opinion.
I do kind of agree, just from the standpoint that today's superstars have primarily just leveled up, and that's not a knock on Nikki Bella. Nikki Bella, for her era, was one of the better in-ring performers, and presently she's just not on the same level as a Rhea, as a Charlotte, as a Becky, et cetera, et cetera. Can you get a story out of that from somebody? Can she find another story that isn't in the main event? Possibly so. So we'll have to see what the future holds for Nikki Bella. Let's break down a few things, and then we'll talk about the winner. Let's just give a few milestones here for this Rumble. So the longest run, as we mentioned before, Roxanne Perez at 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 47 seconds. That's a new record for the Women's Rumble. The only knock that I have, which I thought about earlier, and I was like, man, I kind of wanted some more one-on-one with Roxanne and Charlotte at the end, but Roxanne had already been in there 1 hour and 7 minutes.
Crazy.
She had kind of done what she needed to do. So I don't have as much of a problem with that as I initially did. Maxine Dupree, who you just mentioned, 1 minute and 20 seconds. That's all the Maxine Dupree you really need. And I'm not knocking Maxine Dupree. I think she's a great on-screen character. You just don't need a ton of in-ring from Maxine. And then most eliminations, you and I basically saw this one coming. Nia Jax getting credited with 9 eliminations, the majority of which on that one single spot where 5 or 6 women were hanging off the edge of that. So anything in particular jump out to you, Maddie, there with those stats from the Rumble?
Like we were saying earlier, Roxanne Perez, it's only a matter of time. You wanted to see her against Charlotte. I think that's a lot of what people want, is to see her on the main roster and just in all these feuds that we could have. The potential is there with the Prodigy. And yeah, Nia Jax, I think she's came around the last 6 months, and is that dominant heel that you need on the women's side of wrestling. So it's perfect fit. Like you said, Maxine Dupree, I can't agree more. I loved all these stats right here. I think it showcased 2 out of the 3 perfectly.
And there are some great videos circulating of Nia leaving the Rumble on the back of a golf cart, just flipping people off in the crowd.
Oh my God.
As she goes into the back.
Jesus.
Yeah. There's some great fan footage going around. That's actually been a fantastic little side voyage there for the Royal Rumble. Now let's talk about the winner. As we have mentioned, Charlotte Flair winning her second Rumble, punches her card to a title challenge at WrestleMania. Don't know if it's going to be the main event, but she does get a shot at some sort of title. And coming back from this ACL tear in 2023. So we were watching Monday night, you and I, Monday Night Raw, before we jumped on the air here. And we were both a little taken back at the reaction that Charlotte got on Monday Night Raw, because her reaction at the Royal Rumble, I think, was pretty good. At the time that she walked out, though, you couldn't really tell, is she face Charlotte or is she heel Charlotte? And tonight, I think she came out trying to be face Charlotte a little bit, and then read the room and was not really feeling it, and then kind of flipped it. And I'll be honest with you, this is the first time that I remember Charlotte Flair looking a little bit rattled on live television. That's not usually Charlotte Flair, but I genuinely think she didn't expect the reaction. She didn't really like the reaction. She was kind of trying to have a heartfelt moment. Now, it's either that or Charlotte Flair is an incredible actor, which she may very well be. But at the point that Rhea Ripley interrupted her promo on Monday Night Raw, I almost think it was to save her a little bit and like move things along. Like, this crowd's not reacting how we took it. This interaction needs to move along. And I think from the time that Ripley came out, the Flair interaction got a little bit better. She got a little bit more comfortable. But that just initial promo from Charlotte Flair tonight on Monday Night Raw, I don't know that it's exactly what she expected, considering how the reaction was at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I was taken back by it. Completely unexpected to me. Charlotte's a 14-time women's champion, but at that point, she's an amazing heel. So if anything, it might be best case scenario for us that this happened. Obviously, we were kind of taken back by it, but I think it's, as far as the road to WrestleMania, this might be the best case scenario for either Tiffy or Rhea.
Yeah, to be fair, and to your point, you know, we talked about last week, if Cena wins, who does he challenge? Do you have that face versus face scenario if he challenges Cody? And that's kind of what we would have had if Charlotte tried to be face the entire time to WrestleMania. I don't think the fans, especially based on her Monday Night Raw reaction, would have really accepted that. And now we're going to get a much more natural heel versus face, no matter whether she picks Rhea or Tiffany. So I do think it's good from that spot. And, we both said that Charlotte Flair was our favorite. And funny enough, last week when I said, sometimes Jim Ross says predictable can be good. Triple H literally in the post press conference said sometimes predictable can be good. So I agree. I think it was the right call. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I think Charlotte Flair is going to make WrestleMania just an overall bigger product.
Absolutely. We're on the right track. Best case scenario for Charlotte Flair.
What would you grade the Women's Royal Rumble, Maddie?
I think you made some good points. I thought it was very entertaining. I think the flow of it was very good, whether it was, the Jordan Grace spot with Naomi and Bianca,
Mm-hmm.
You also had Chelsea Green being entertaining. I give it a pretty good grade. I'd say a B+. It wasn't bad. I didn't need the NXT. I think, like we said, there could have been something else done with Becky Lynch, maybe taking an NXT spot, but overall, very entertaining. Flow was great.
Yep, right there in lockstep with you. I'll side with you there with a solid B+. Let's jump over to the WWE Tag Titles. DIY retaining over Motor City Machine Guns in a 2 out of 3 falls match. This one did in fact go to all 3 falls, in DIY getting a little bit of help there at the end with the Street Profits interfering, allowing them to get that victory. Now, I like the Street Profits. I like the Street Profits a lot. I think it's unfortunate what happened to them in terms of the timing and Bobby Lashley leaving and kind of the mojo that they had going on with him. And then all of a sudden, Bobby Lashley's just not on screen. And then B-Fab was with them for a while. B-Fab's not with them really anymore. So they're really just trying to find their footing again as a tag team. I don't know if this was the spot that I needed them to come out and make their presence felt, because I think the DIY and Motor City Machine Guns were having a fine enough 2 out of 3 falls match on their own. But nonetheless, this match was just in a tough spot. If I'm being honest, directly after a Rumble is not an enviable spot whatsoever. And plus, you're before one of the most hyped world title matches. So they were just kind of in no man's land. And that's what I kind of got from the crowd as well. I think the guys worked hard. I think it was an overall pretty good, as far as that gimmick goes, I think it was a pretty good match. But I think of all the spots on the Royal Rumble PLE, this is the one that fell just a little bit flat for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think this could have been, a singles match, or not a singles match, but a tag match. Didn't need the 3 falls. Could have been a Raw match, SmackDown match. There was just too much going on the Rumble. But like you said, the Street Profits returning, I think that was good for them to kind of establish, because my takeaway from that match was, as entertaining as it was, after I left, all I could think about was the Street Profits.
Yeah, I agree.
Just this heel turn that we're going to get. And they have tons of talent. We just have to see it, storyline and booking, play out to the point where they're maximized, because you see them, they look like $1 million. They have the move set. They're entertaining. It's just everything's got to come together for them.
So with that said, there are a lot of talents that I will argue, as we just talked about with Charlotte Flair, they're just much more natural heels. I would actually argue the Street Profits way more natural baby faces, just with the amount of energy that Montez and Angelo Dawkins both have. So do you think that them going? I mean, this has to be a heel move, right? With the interference of this match, I can't imagine they're somehow going to be received as babyface after this. So I don't know, man. I like them more as babyface personally.
Yeah, and I think that's my one takeaway. They need an identity. We need to know, and we're still trying to figure that out. Like, what are the Street Profits? Are they good guys because they're good? Are they bad? Or where it's almost like you said, with a ton of talent, it's wasted talent, all this potential. It's a stacked card, so they have to figure out their footing moving forward with teams like Motor City Machine Guns, DIY. So many good tag teams already. Profits got to figure out. It's got to be storyline. It's got to be face heel. It's got to work. It's
absolutely.
Tough.
Yep, absolutely agreed. Undisputed WWE Championship: Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens. Holy shit, Maddie! On any other PLE, this is the main event. It's an absolute banger. It's a match that'll be talked about for a long time. This is the thing that steals any other premium live event that is not the Royal Rumble. And I think if we don't get the ending that we got with the men's Royal Rumble, this probably is what steals the Royal Rumble as a whole, as an entire PLE. I can't say enough good things about this match, Maddie.
Dude, so much violence, so many wow moments. Just the use of that ladder.
And the mini ladder.
And then the Kevin Owens spot where he's acting like he's gonna do like a frog splash.
Oh yeah, and then just jumps back down. Yeah, no,
just playing.
Kevin Owens is so good. Kevin Owens is so good. Had the was it the son of a security systems technician or something? I mean, man, everything about Kevin Owens right now is absolutely fantastic. That ladder spot where he gets dropped on the side of the ladder, it looked like every corner went into the just the middle and lower portion. Like it was the worst place to land. And then you think about the finish as well, the way that he basically folded through that other ladder was unbelievable. I mean, there's few times where I kind of cringe and look the other way at this point. With the way Kevin Owens folded at the end of that match, I was like, oh man.
that ending right there. Yeah. That's going to be something that goes down in history, the ending to that match. That moveset, whether it was I don't know if it's a spine buster exactly, whatever it is. Do you know what that would be called?
Alabama Slam.
Oh, yeah. Hardcore Holly. Oh,
yeah. Alabama Slam.
Jesus Christ. That would, to me, that left a lasting impression. The violence, just a different Cody Rhodes we saw in this match.
Very different Cody Rhodes. Very different because there's a lot of times Cody had that quality about him where he would have maybe the opportunity to use a chair, to use a kendo stick, and he'd look at it and be like, nah, and then throw it away and then figure out a way to beat. And this was like all systems go. This is, I'll hit you with a ladder. I'll risk my body. I'll put everything on the line to make sure I'm retaining this championship. I mean, to me, Maddie, 10 out of 10, that's got to be front runner for WWE match of the year, I have to imagine.
We've seen Cody Rhodes do it year in and year out. Same with Kevin Owens. These two are on the top of their game. And I think we're going to miss this feud, this rivalry. Either this is the conclusion or whatnot. It's going to be one of those that you're going to miss, but one of those we're going to see on A&E or whatnot. Greatest rivalries when we look back at it.
Yeah, I think Cody Rhodes and maybe even Kevin Owens, for that matter, you know, there's a lot of talent that has matches with maybe one common opponent, and you look back and say, well, what was their best match? Because if you think about a lot of the women's roster, right, if you say somebody's had their best match with Rhea Ripley, you're not surprised. If you say somebody's had their best match with Charlotte Flair, you're not surprised. And now if you start saying somebody's had their best match with Kevin Owens, with Roman Reigns, with Cody Rhodes, you're not surprised. And I think those two, to your point, could easily come back to this rivalry at some point. I don't think it's WrestleMania bound based off the finish, but man, there is definite chemistry there with Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. And with that said, Maddie, we haven't seen or heard from Kevin Owens since the Rumble. Grant you, we're just now on Monday night when we're recording this. But where do you think Kevin Owens goes from here? Because we saw Sami Zayn out there as a part of the match, and we kind of teased it saying, well, how does Sami get involved? Does KO come back in the Rumble somehow? Obviously not after that finish, good God. But, you know, it leaves him kind of in this weird spot that you just, you know, for as much as we didn't know going into the Rumble what his spot would be, now I really don't know.
Yeah, very interesting. He was we'll go back to JR. Is bleeding like a stuffed pig. Just God, the brutality of this. I just can't get out of my head. Is it we're recording this as Raw is going. I know Sami Zayn has a qualifying match. Is it going to be Kevin Owens earning a spot in the Elimination Chamber? Maybe. I mean,
yeah, maybe so. I mean, so John Cena is already taking up one spot, which leaves 5. You got CM Punk and Sami Zayn having a qualifying match, which I'll update you here in the middle of the show as they're going right now. So we'll figure out kind of the second member of that match. But yeah, I mean, I have to imagine maybe Kevin Owens gets into that and tries to make a last ditch effort to get into the WrestleMania main event.
He's just such a dominant wrestler at this point. I think having him in the Elimination Chamber just kind of continues that story going forward, either with Sammy or with, I don't know if he's doing Punk or what's going on moving forward, but yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, a lot of storylines, and we're going to get into even more as we move into the main event of this PLE in the men's Royal Rumble match. Absolutely stacked with present talent, as we mentioned before. In the women's, Trish Stratus, the only legend returning for either Rumble match. So absolutely zero legends and surprises from that standpoint in the men's match. And as we are talking about this, Maddie, the 1, 2, 3 for CM Punk. So Sami Zayn not going to be a part of that Elimination Chamber. I think that kind of makes sense, but now it kind of makes me question whether Kevin Owens is going to be in that Elimination Chamber after all. But let's get back to the Rumble here. We got to start at the top. Rey Mysterio, Penta, the first two entrants. The place is absolutely wired for these first two guys, for these to be the first two entrants. And boy, oh boy, it about came undone real quickly. A little bit of controversy there with Penta. You saw both the feet touch, you saw the tip tap, and then I said, was it?
Yeah.
And then WWE didn't show the replay, and I'm like, yeah, they both touched if they're not showing the replay. But I think the funny thing is, Maddie, people wanted Penta to stay in it. I don't think anybody's too mad about both the feet touching, tip tapping there and him staying in. He ends up being the longest participant in the match, and I think people just wanted to see more Penta because they knew he wasn't winning, so they were kind of okay with him staying in the Rumble.
Yeah, his star's shining bright. We saw on Raw he fought Ludwig. You've got all these like kind of lower mid card guys trying to get after Penta. So if anything, it's great for his placement right now. But he's on a burner. He's winning them all. But yeah, what the hell happened? First two guys in and both feet go down. I was like, oh no.
I think that's a thing where a talent like Penta hasn't been in WWE. He hasn't been in this sort of match. The adrenaline's going. It's probably the biggest crowd, I would imagine, that he's probably performed in front of. And I think he just thought, I'll just push myself back and just didn't, had that real quick lapse. And you see it tip tap real quick. And he's like, oh, yeah, I can't do this. But yeah.
I was going to say real quick, going back to the women's match, did you catch that where Io Sky did the roll up like she was pinning?
Oh yeah,
who it was? I was like, wait a second. Oh.
Yeah, they even added a little bit of that in the commentary, saying, "Hey, Io, you can't win like that in this particular match." So the Royal Rumble is its own beast. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh my goodness! I'm sorry,
Matt.
Oh, Maddie, we are. I have to address it because by the time the podcast comes out on Thursday.
Let's hear
Kevin
it.
Owens. Kevin Owens has turned on Sami Zayn, attacking him after the match. Just hit Sami with the package pile driver, wearing his Sami Zayn Forever shirt.
Wasted no time.
And Kevin Owens looks like hell.
Yeah.
Holy crap, his eye. Oh, and that's how Raw is going to go off the air as well.
Wow.
That's a fantastic ending.
Well,
sorry. We're recording right as Raw is going on there. That's definitely where that's headed now. So we got our answer there. But let's move on here with the men's Royal Rumble. TNA champion Joe Hendry. Did you say his name, Maddie? Because he appeared. What a pop for Joe Hendry there.
Dude's over big time.
Yeah.
TNA champ. It's crazy. Nobody knew who this guy was a year ago. And he has been on fire. Like everything he touches, every feud, and we're just now getting to see him in the WWE. And he's still in TNA, but there's so much more to be offered for Joe Hendry with his music video packages and stuff. But yeah, a great spot for him. I saw him touch up with Roman Reigns, some different spots, which I think was perfect, kind of getting his name on the WWE product.
Yeah, Joe Hendry getting that interaction with Roman Reigns. He got the pop as he came out. He even got the Triple H point picture, for social media. So Joe Hendry's everywhere, and I don't think it's by any stretch of the imagination the last time they were going to be seeing Joe Hendry on WWE programming. Now, let's go to the spot that has everybody talking, Maddie. I'm not even talking about the ending. So IShowSpeed has to get into the Rumble. comes out there. He's all hyped. He's helping Braun Breaker. He even eliminates, I think it's Otis, right, with
Yeah.
Braun. Helps him dump him over the top rope. IShow Speed's kind of celebrating a little bit, you know. He's all hyped that he got a spot that he wasn't expecting to get after Akira Tozawa was attacked there, and does a backflip, and he's kind of showboating a little bit. And the camera is on IShow Speed, and all you see is Braun Breaker hitting those ropes. Oh, the spear of all spears, Maddie, from from Braun Breaker. I was sure that IShow Speed was dead, man. I was sure he was dead.
Dude, one of the craziest moments I can remember in Royal Rumble history. And such, man, Braun Breaker's a different animal, isn't he?
He absolutely is. I mean, every angle that I saw of this spear did not look better for IShow Speed at all. In fact, it was maybe worse. I mean, you're getting all these fan cams. WWE had like 10 different angles of it. Dude, it was just unbelievable. And I liked Breaker's gear as well, with the singlet that had all the numbers on it. So I like that he's showing some incentive to kind of present himself, you know, as an important player, and having you know, different gear and that sort of thing for the moment. I thought Braun Breaker had a really, really good showing here in this Rumble.
We also got to see Braun Breaker's dad, Rick Steiner. We might not have seen many legends in the match, but I think WWE's done a great, WWE's done a great job of showcasing kind of homage to the old legends, the RVDs, the Ron Simmons, so many different guys, Mickey James. I think that's great for the product, and kind of for us that love nostalgia like myself. To me, I can't complain.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's actually a pretty good point, in that while there weren't a ton of legends in the actual matches themselves, it was good to get them on screen and see them still there involved in the product. Let's give a few stats here for. Oh, excuse me. Actually, before we get to that, the only return for the men's side, AJ Styles, the phenomenal one. And the most important thing that I took away from this: A, he looks healthy and he looks good, and B, he got his old theme back. Thank Christ, he got his old theme back, because that new one. Who is the Def Rebel? Def Rebel is currently, look, I'm not going to speak ill about a lot of things in the WWE product right now, because I think a lot of things are going really, really well. But Def Rebel is currently committing some atrocities. I was going to drop a hard F right there. They are committing some atrocities with WWE music right now. Finn Balor, actually, I think that was one of the bigger mistakes of the Royal Rumble. It was Finn Balor having brand new entrance music.
Yeah, I had no idea who that was.
Nobody, I had no idea who it was. Absolutely no idea. And that's part, though, Def Rebel has so many songs or so many intro themes that are sounding the same. New Day actually debuted one tonight on Monday Night Raw. It was okay, but it still had a lot of the same sounds and similarities to this Def Rebel kind of era of intro music that we're getting. And I just, man, thank God AJ Styles got his old theme back.
Yeah, it gets confusing. Like, I don't even know who's coming out, because there's so many new entrance musics, so many different theme songs. To me, that's part of the nostalgia effect, the Jim Johnson of the old days, where you, like, could you imagine if Jey Uso changed his music?
Oh my God. No, I mean, he absolutely can't now. But,
or Joe Hendry. I mean,
yeah,
a lot of times the entrance, or Shawn Michaels, a lot of times the entrance music makes the superstar. I don't really understand, like you said, this process of let's just reinvent ourselves with whatever works after a couple months. I don't get it. But yeah, AJ Styles, 47 years old. He looks amazing.
Yeah, it looks like to borrow a quote from Mark Henry, it looks like he's got a lot more left in the tank. And I'm glad that he showed up, because that tells me, especially with Cena losing or getting eliminated, rather, not necessarily, I mean, there's 29 losers, if you will, but it gives me hope that there is a way to reignite that feud one last time with John Cena and AJ Styles. So let's break down a few metrics here. The longest, as we mentioned before, the longest run in the Rumble for the men's side, technically speaking, was Penta at 42 minutes and 5 seconds. Ludwig Kaiser, 6 seconds. He was damn close to being the shortest ever. Santino Marella still holding that there. And then the most eliminations, I did call this, Jacob Fatu did not call, however, Roman Reigns. They both had 4 eliminations. I thought this was a very good Rumble, both for Roman in terms of just showcasing him and putting him in a bunch of possible feuds there with Seth Rollins, with CM Punk. We got a lot to talk about there. But then with Jacob Fatu, I was talking to somebody about this actually this past weekend, Maddie, and I said, for me, I grew up in the South. And when I went to high school, there would be these kids that were just unreasonably strong for no reason other than they just went and tossed hay bales. They were out working on farms. They just had that old farm boy strength. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And whatever the Samoan equivalent to that is what Jacob Fatu has. Like, he is just unreasonably strong for absolutely no reason.
And he's got it all. He's the total package.
Agreed.
He's got the mannerisms. He's got you used to see these with Dean Ambrose. He did it, or John Moxley would do a lot with his hands, with his body language, and it would vibrate that character. And I think Fatu does a great job of that. But there's so many moments in the Rumble with either him and Sheamus or different wrestlers where you could just say, like, man, this guy is a main event superstar in the making.
Absolutely. And his whole entrance package works for him. I know I gave Def Rebel, a lot of grief. I'm assuming they are the ones that created Fatu's theme, but his theme packaged with his whole appearance and entrance, that one absolutely works. So no complaints there whatsoever. Let's look ahead just a little bit to WrestleMania, as we just touched on. One of the biggest in-ring feuds that kind of happened there with CM Punk, who is now going to be in the Elimination Chamber, Seth Rollins, TBD there, and then Roman Reigns as well. You have to figure they're probably all 3 going to make their way to the Elimination Chamber some way, somehow. And with the way that ended, basically, with Rollins eliminating Reigns, and then you get CM Punk eliminating Rollins, if I remember it right, and then Logan Paul, correct, eliminating CM Punk. So that was kind of the series of events. And then Punk, Rollins, Reigns all end up on the outside of the ring, arguing, kind of going at each other. And then you see Seth Rollins, Maddie, deliver this double stomp. I mean, both feet on the back of the head of Roman Reigns. It looked like a very heel-like move and moment from Seth Rollins. I didn't get to hear his promo tonight on Monday Night Raw, so I'm going to be interested to see what that kind of entailed. Are we getting the turn? Are we getting a different version right now? Or are we on the cusp of a new Seth Rollins?
I think this was the exclamation mark we were all looking for with the Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins feud. You don't need a championship. Get it out. Just have these 2 monsters go at 2 of the elite talent in WWE over the last 10 years. So much story has been told with these 2 guys. Yeah, Seth Rollins as a heel. Yes, we need it. Roman's too much over as a face. We've already had to deal with his heel turn. I think Seth has so much left to give us as a heel. So bring it to me. Give it to me. I want these 2 one-on-one at WrestleMania.
I think that's the direction that we're barreling towards, if I had to guess, just because The Rock did not show up at the Royal Rumble. So I mean, obviously, we can still get The Rock and Roman somehow. There's plenty of time with WrestleMania taking place on April 19th. We got plenty of time to build that. I really think there's time there. I know you're grimacing a little bit, but I think there's time.
It'd almost be a disservice at this point. Like, now I want Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns so bad. I almost feel like this would be The Rock doing what he did last year. I mean, Rock's The Rock. He's great as a heel. But, man, what we're about to get with Seth Rollins, this is going to be fresh coat of paint. This is what we need for this feud. The exclamation mark is there.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm not saying it's what I'm not saying it's what I want at all. I told you last episode. I think Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns is actually the direction that I would prefer. I think there are going to be some people that say, "Hey, you had the chance right there," whether it was last year when Cody ended up, defeating Roman, or this year. You're just not getting too many more opportunities, if any at all, with The Rock. So I do think there will be an underlying kind of bit of disappointment from a certain segment of the fans. But honestly, I think once you get Roman and Seth in there and they go at each other, they're going to have one hell of a match there at WrestleMania. So let's talk about the finish and the winner of the 2025 Men's Royal Rumble match, main event, Jey Uso. once you got done watching it, Maddie, I texted or you texted me, kind of your initial reaction to it, and I said when it was down to 3 with Logan Paul, Jey Uso, and John Cena, I thought for sure John Cena was winning. I thought for sure that Logan would eliminate Jey, and it would give John, that real easy, big victory moment over somebody that's, really hated right now in WWE with Logan Paul. But then Logan Paul got eliminated, and I said, "Oh, wait a minute, this is new. This is interesting." And as I was watching, I said, "Man, they have a chance to really make Jey Uso at this point." But as I was watching too, if you go back and look, Jey Uso's smiling the whole time. So I don't know if it's just because he knows. At first,
Wow.
I thought it was just because like he's in there and he's having this battle with John Cena on John Cena's retirement tour. But there's a lot of spots where Jey Uso just cannot get this smile off his face. So I don't know if he just knew, like, hey, this is my moment and he's just ready for it or what. But man, that moment when Jey Uso slips behind John Cena back into the ring, the shot from WWE was absolute perfection, waiting right there, at the edge, and John Cena landing right in front of the camera. Absolute perfection. You see the disappointment on John's face, and it's got to be one of the more shock and awe moments at a Royal Rumble that I ever remember.
Yeah, I can't remember one. That was to me that took the cake is probably one of the most shocking things I've ever seen. I love Jey Uso. I've always been a fan, and I love this underdog mentality. Just the feuds he's had in the past, and just the crowd, everything about him. You want the guy to do good. But I thought for sure when John Cena, and it was him and John Cena, and they're battling on the outside of the ring, I thought it's Cena no matter what. And boy, that was crazy. I I am so happy I had to wait to watch this, and I'm glad I didn't get to see this till 3 o'clock on Sunday because of things with the family. And my text to him right after I finished it was, "Wow, oh my god, I can't believe this just happened. Holy fuck!" Like I was shocked. I'm still shocked. I have like the tremors from like this is crazy, man. This is good television though. This is the Triple H era. Something we would never get with Vince McMahon.
And it's so funny because I think the initial overwhelming response to Jay winning was pretty positive. Now, you're never going to make everybody happy all the time, and so some of the boo birds were out for the moment with Jey Uso because they wanted it to be John Cena or it wasn't somebody else or it wasn't exactly who they thought would win. But if you watched Monday Night Raw and you saw Jey Uso's entrance, how are you not certain that this was the absolute most correct decision that WWE has made, maybe since the Triple H era has begun? Because this man comes out to yet again another basically a rock show with the
Right.
people and his theme song. And some people say, well, the theme song and Yeet is what has Jay over. It's the only thing. Well, first off, any superstar that's ever been over, their theme song is a part of that. Some of their catchphrases are a part of that. So I don't know why you're complaining that Jey Uso right now has the most over catchphrase and has the most over entrance in the entire business, hands down. And I have never, Maddie, until tonight, seen a crowd say it one more time. They weren't done yeeting. They weren't done with his entrance. Jay looks at the camera and says, "Hit my music." And they go back to playing his song again. And the entire crowd is into it, Maddie. It was an unbelievable promo on top of the win tonight for Jey Uso.
Most over superstar in the WWE at the moment. We've seen him on Slim Jim commercials. We've seen rap stars come out with him, celebrities, everything he's done. So he's always had it, and that's the thing. Whether it was in ring, whether it was the facial expressions during the whole bloodline fiasco, Jey Uso's paid his dues, and now he's getting to reap the rewards. And like you said, all these people given like what was it like 12,000 likes, 17,000 dislikes on this video on YouTube. Like, where does that come from? I've never seen anybody boo or dislike Jey Uso. He's the most over guy, in my opinion, in professional, at least in the WWE, bar none.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you're always going to have people that just want to criticize the product. And I even tweeted Maddie. I was like, look, if you didn't enjoy this PLE, I just don't think the WWE product is honestly for you.
Right.
That's just my opinion. I thought they put on one of their best shows to date in quite some time, and I thought it had a lot of entertaining factors. Thought it had a lot of storyline driven factors. Thought it had a lot of action driven, and I just don't know where anyone comes away really disappointed with this overall Royal Rumble PLE. So who do you think, Maddie, out of the entire night, and let's open it up to the other matches as well, not just the Rumbles themselves, but who do you find as the MVP of this pay-per-view or premium live event?
Man, God, it's like a handful, right? It's tough, man. There's so many good. I want to go Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
I want to go Jey Uso, but I think I got to go Kevin Owens. Just what he put his body through, just the match, the story, the storytelling you're getting from Kevin Owens in general for the last 2 years, and just the
Mhm.
climactic ending of this feud with Cody Rhodes. To me, it's Kevin Owens.
Yeah, I mean, I can't fault you for saying Kevin Owens there whatsoever. I do want to give some kudos to Cody Rhodes for taking his character to another level there. Got to give some kudos to Jordan Grace for showing out. I think for the women's Rumble overall, Roxanne Perez is probably my MVP. She just did the most with her true introduction to the mainstream WWE crowd. So I think big things are on the horizon for her. And then my last one's got to be Braun Breaker.
Oh my
Braun
God.
Breaker, he has the moment that's got everybody talking. He's putting on a show every single time he's on WWE television. This one with absolutely no exception. To end this show, Maddie, let's see if we can project maybe a WrestleMania match that we now have Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn because we just happen to be recording this. I have to imagine that's how you feel. That one's probably going as well. But
Yeah.
is there anywhere else that you see maybe a feud might be popping up?
I think there's a lot of story to be told still. We have 2.5 months. I don't know where Punk's going. I don't know the Drew McIntyre. Is he going with Damian Priest? What's going on there? To me, man, I'm more excited about what I don't know at this point.
Yeah, that's
I don't
fair.
know.
That's fair.
I mean, that's one way to put it, but I'm also as excited about Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns and
Yeah.
Charlotte Flair. There's so much to be. I think this is. We keep going back to it since we started a couple weeks ago, but this is a golden era of WWE programming we're getting, and with the Roxanne Perez, the Braun Breaker, Jacob Fatu, Penta, all these like lower mid card guys that are young that have so much potential. You see that there's not a dull night in professional wrestling right now. So to me, this road to WrestleMania is going to kick ass, and I'm excited. I am pumped. I'm still, like I said, getting over the Rumble. I can't even think about WrestleMania. I got to take this week and just digest it all. But yeah, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, holy shit.
I do think that's definitely one pretty strong possibility, which makes you wonder where does CM Punk go? Does he claim that last spot? I think for a future episode, because we're running a little bit longer on this one, we have to talk about, is John Cena actually going to win the Chamber? He had a pretty interesting promo, but I think there's a case to be made for John Cena. There's a lot of talk amongst wrestlers that like, hey, the way to go out is on your back, in defeat for your last match. I kind of think there's a little bit of a hint of maybe John Cena wins number 17. His quest for 17 is on his last match and not at WrestleMania. So I'm curious to see where that goes, how long they can drag that out. I think somebody that we haven't talked about that was maybe a little bit of an underrated MVP for the night, and especially for the Women's Rumble, is Chelsea Green. You saw that she accidentally got knocked out by Piper Niven. So maybe that, that tandem, that duo grows a little bit of friction, and maybe that ends up being a WrestleMania match as well. Chelsea Green absolutely deserves a one-on-one spot at WrestleMania.
I think she's got amazing heel tactics, and I think that's going to really showcase the more and more we get to see her as she kind of moves up that card. And like you said, John Cena, does he need a challenge? Do we need to see John Cena versus Cody Rhodes? Can we just have Punk versus Cody Rhodes, Rollins versus Roman Reigns, and Jey Uso versus Gunther? To me, that's and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. So many banger after banger after banger.
Yeah, I mean, I personally could I could stand to see AJ Styles and John Cena as a WrestleMania one-on-one. You don't need a title for either of them, and I think you push this quest for 17. You start to have John have some more doubt. Now John needs a win. I rarely say that John needs a win. John's done quite a bit of winning in his day, but he'll have you know he hasn't won WrestleMania in quite some time. But I do think at some point, whether it's the Chamber or WrestleMania, John actually needs a win, because then it does start becoming like he's just the old man that just doesn't have enough left in the tank. You know what I mean? So I do think at some point John needs a win, but we will get into that in a future episode. And hey, good news, Maddie. We're on Spotify. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on iHeartRadio Podcasts. So all the places that you predominantly get podcasts, we are there. Find us at WrestleMats, which is also our handle on basically every social media platform. Yeah,
absolutely. Folks, ain't it great? WRESTLEMATTS.
Thank God you got that down. Thank God you got that down.
We're better than Jeff at this point, folks. Yeah, at WrestleMats, dig into this. This is going to be a fun WrestleMania ride.
Keep up with us, especially on X and on Instagram. Those are going to be probably our two most prominent platforms, I would say. We're going to try to make use of all the things, but we're definitely giving you a lot of content over there right now. So follow along. Got a lot of good shows coming your way. Thanks for joining us on this episode of WrestleMats. See you soon. Whew.